Well, hello. Thank you for coming to my Bible story time, to sharing it with me. I am so grateful that we have this time together, and I hope that you are doing well wherever you are. Remember last time when we talked, Joshua and Israel are in the land of Canaan. They're having great success as long as they keep God's rules, driving out kings and defeating cities. Remember last time we talked, there was a city called Gibeon that sent people to Joshua and tricked him into making a treaty with them. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you should go back and listen to the story. But the short version is that these people pretended to be from a long, long way away. They came to Joshua and said, "We've heard all the magnificent things God is doing for Israel. We don't ever want to fight you. We've come a terribly long way to make peace with you." And Joshua and the officers of Israel said, "All right, we'll make peace with you." But then they found out it was a trick, that it was the very next town, Gibeon. And they were very angry and very upset that they hadn't thought to talk to God about this before they made a big decision. But they had made a decision. They had signed a treaty. They had promised. So they told the Gibeonites, well, okay, we won't destroy you, but you will be our slaves forever. And the Gibeonites thought, well, that's a bad deal, but it's better than being killed. So that's where we ended. Now, the king of Jerusalem, and at this time Jerusalem didn't belong to Israel yet, right? It still belonged to the Amorites. The king of Jerusalem heard that Gibeon had made peace with Israel, and it made him very angry. I mean, the more people who make peace with Israel, the more likely it is that Israel is going to get to his city and take his land and destroy him, right? So he called 4 other kings, and he said, listen, come up and join me, and let's go teach these Gibeonites, people of Gibeon, a lesson. They made peace with Israel, let's destroy them. So these 5 kings gathered with all their armies, and they surrounded Gibeon, preparing to do battle against Gibeon, destroy Gibeon for making peace with Israel. And the people of Gibeon, they sent a message to Joshua, to Israel, saying, listen, we're yours. You promised to protect us. Now we need help. We got 5 kings and their armies surrounding our city. Joshua talked to God, what should we do? God said, go, I'm going to give you the victory. Joshua and all the mighty warriors of Israel, they set right out. They marched all through the night, and they believed that God was going to help them. And early in the morning, they fell upon these 5 armies. The 5 armies didn't know what hit them. They didn't know that Israel was there. They didn't know anything. They weren't ready. And it was an incredible rout. A rout means that their armies were being destroyed. Now, the soldiers broke and they ran away, and God sent a hailstorm. And the hail killed more soldiers, more enemy soldiers, than the fighting even did. Right? God wasn't going to let these people conspire against his people. God wasn't going to let these people hurt Israel. The 5 kings saw that, and they got terrified, and they ran away and they hid in a cave. And Joshua found out where they were hidden. And he told some of his soldiers, roll some stones down. Let's seal up that cave. We'll deal with them later. So that's what happened. And the enemy soldiers were still running away, and Israelite soldiers were still chasing them all over the place. And Joshua looked and he thought, that we're going to run out of daylight. And if we let any of these guys live, they're going to regroup overnight or some other time, and we're going to have to fight them again. So this part is just wild to understand, all right? Joshua, using God's power, said to the sun, stand still for a while. Moon, stand still for a while. And they did. There it is. And the day lasted extra long, and the soldiers of Israel were able to track down all these enemy soldiers and deal with them. Longest day ever. Great victory for Israel. When all that was done, Joshua had the soldiers open up that cave. They pulled the 5 kings out. They killed them, of course, because they had dared attack the people of Israel and the people of Gibeon, whom Israel was protecting. And that's sort of how it went, that Israel was faithful and Joshua was faithful, and they listened to God, and God was with them. And by the time it was all done, Joshua had defeated 31 kings and taken the kingdoms and the land of 31 kings. And the people of Israel, the armies of Israel, they were tired, so they rested for a while. They rested at a camp at a place called Gilgal, and they waited to see what God would do next. And you're going to have to wait until next week to find out what that is. But I am so grateful that you are growing up learning to trust God, that you are learning to believe God's word, that you are learning to talk to God before you make a decision, before you commit to something, and that you're learning that if God blesses something, there's nothing that can stop it. It's wonderful to see you again. Remember, it's summertime. I do want you to keep learning and growing, keep reading and studying, keep working so that you can grow into the fullness of what God created you to be. Take a rest here and there, lay in the sun every once in a while, play, enjoy your time with your family, but keep growing too. I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.